sounds very juicy to say, oh, it's Dora Celia has done this, Dora Celia has done this. I have not attended to the appeal of Prime TV based on what IBA said to them, on the basis that when I called for the file, I ended up finding that their license had expired. On what basis would I be hearing an appeal? Now, just because you don't like the law, or it happens to be Dora Celia in the office and you don't like it, I can't help you in that case.
You lack disseminating information to teach the people to say why we have taken this step. It's because of this. Education lacks. That I can tell you, because most of the people, they do things they hear just from the media, even on social media. It makes news.
You're very right, Pastor. We need to have a critical mass of Zambians who, when violence is whether by the UPND, PF, FDD, or whoever, they say it's wrong. Not
Our dear Camnet viewers, wherever you are viewing us from, I am your pastor and host. This is National Matters. In the studio with me, I'm very privileged, and on behalf of my wife, on behalf of the leadership of the church, Camnet TV viewers, we are honored to have the Honorable Minister of Information and Broadcasting. And at the same time, she is the Chief Government Spokesperson, Madam Dora Celia. Please welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's such a privilege to be at Camnet today.
Amen. And it's you must know, Camnet TV viewers, that I'll give time to our Honorable Minister to talk about herself, because this is new. This is not new to her. She's a seasoned journalist, a seasoned media person, and you need to get the background. Honorable Minister, this is Camnet TV. Please feel free to tell the nation who Honorable Minister is and what you have done, because some people may see you and think, oh, what did she do as Minister of Information?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. Obviously, I am currently the Minister of Information and Broadcasting Services. How did I get here? I was born in Kitwe over 49 years ago. In fact, I'll be turning 50 in October. I was born in 1970 in Kitwe. I lived in Kitwe for 2 years before my parents moved to Mufulira. And recently I went back to see the house where we lived for 6 years in Mufulira. It's 1976 Chitimkulu Road. And I started my grade 1 in Mufulira at the school then called Rossi Primary School, but now it's called Tiende Pamozi High School. And when I was 8 years old, my parents moved to Lusaka, and I've lived in Lusaka since. Sector. So that is who I am. I've been in government for a while. I first ran for office in 2001. I've been a diplomat. I've served in 6 ministries, which is such a privilege for me. In education, in trade, in energy, in agriculture, in transport and communication, and now in Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. So it's been a full circle to end up here.
Absolutely, you know? That's an elaborate CV.
Yeah. The journey has been quite exciting. My most privilege has been serving the people of Petauke. That's how it all began.
Yeah.
That's how it all began. And I've been elected by the people of Petauke 4 times. Of course, greatly indebted for the privilege to serve them. It's a privilege I don't take for granted because it requires such dedication, but it's also humbling to participate in people's lives at the parliamentary level. And for me, I say this, in fact, in honor of all members of parliament. Every person who's a member of parliament. I know the commitment and dedication it takes to serve people, because in our country you go beyond the job. You really become the person that supports people in their times of need, beyond public needs such as roads and schools. You actually have to support people through school fees, through paying for funerals. Sometimes you have to build the community school yourself. So I know that every single person who's a member of parliament in Zambia today, whatever party, I know their commitment and the sacrifice, sometimes denying their own family to serve the bigger good. So it is a privilege I don't take for granted, and I'm just happy that the people of Petauke have given me this opportunity. Amen. So that's about me.
Wonderful, Honorable Minister. You left one gap that they may not know that you have had some experience. You know.
I consider myself as an expert at communication, because obviously I did mass communication. But along the way, I think I've spent a lot of time doing development work, you know. Since my master's, I worked for the EU to do private sector development work. Now, my story with ZNBC is very interesting because
that's what I'm interested in.
I've only worked at ZNBC full-time for 1 year.
Really?
But I've been associated with ZNBC from my university days. I had a job, and for me, I wanted a part-time job. They ended up giving me a full-time job, but I was a student. So I've only been associated with ZNBC as a student at the university. Otherwise, you could say I was just lucky. I was in the right place at the right time.
You know,
in 1989-90, when I went to the university, and first actually to study medicine, but ZNBC gave me a full-time job. And then thereafter I decided to switch and went back to do mass communication instead of medicine. But I had this job at ZNBC, you know, so my association with ZNBC was through my university years, but it has served me well, very well.
You know, you've helped me, and I'm sure the people out there, because of your impact, your influence at ZNBC. One would think you spent 12 years or 15 years there.
I've been associated with ZNBC for a very long time. All through my university years, I was at ZNBC.
Well, dear Camnet TV viewers, you've heard from the Honorable Minister. That is who she is, and that's what she has done. And I'm so grateful to the Lord that most of us think politics for people who can just talk loud and shout without education, without what. But I must say that we are privileged that we have you in the Ministry of Information. The first question, Honorable Minister, of course, we'll talk about several things. When you were at ZNBC, and now ZNBC was just one TV, one radio at that time during the Kaunda era. Now you have these, you've given us licenses, and you have given us the right to broadcast. For the sake of my friends and viewers there, is the government in charge to tell us what to say, what not to say?
Let me first begin from the point of view that I think we the Zambians have agreed how we want to be governed in a democratic society, and it is from that power of the Zambians that government decided that we needed to liberalize the media space, because the Zambians demanded it. And in trying to liberalize the media space, Parliament enacted the Independent Broadcasting Authority to manage the broadcasting licenses space in particular. And so far, over 115, 120 radio licenses have been given out. Just from 2014, there's been such an acceleration and upsurge of interest in radio and television, and it is a good thing. I believe that not just myself, but all my colleagues in government, and in particular the president, believes that this is the way that democracy can be saved, because the right of the people to know can only be expressed in today's world by us being able to interact through the media space. While in a village setting you have Insaka and you can call everybody around a table or under a tree, with 17 million Zambians, we all can't assemble in one place. So for us to be able to communicate effectively, we have the media as the in-between the people and their government, because not everybody will have a privilege to come to my office or to meet the president, but people have a right to know what their government, an elected government, is doing, and number one, how the government is expending their resources. So in that regard, I think that this particular government has done very well in terms of the issuance of licenses to TVs and radio stations. Now, I don't know, as a Minister of Information and Broadcasting myself, that somebody can say, every day I call them and I say, look, your News Diggers or your Mast or your Camnet or your ZNBC or Daily Mail, and I say, today this will be the news. Our interest as government in the media is that the biggest expenditure in this country is done by government. And that is the contract the people of Zambia have with government. So the people of Zambia need to know what the money is being spent on the schools, on the roads. And we have agreed that while there's private sector in this media space, government will also have an interest in some media, such as NBC and Times and Daily, to also communicate, because it's in the people's interest. They want, when you see on ZNBC My District, is because the people in Kaputa want to see what's happening in their district and how government is relating to them. People say, oh no, but in ZNBC or in Times of Zambia, we just see government news. Because the people of Zambia demand of it. They want to see what their government is doing. Now, but the people also have a choice that they can pick across a range of media and say, today I'm going to read the Diggers, tomorrow I'll read the Times, today I'm going to watch Camnet, tomorrow I watch ZNBC. What is important is that people have a choice. And government too has a platform to be able to say, what we are doing in Mongo district, this is the hospital we've built, this is the schools we've built, because it is your money, the people of Zambia, and we're expending it on your behalf. So for you to be able to hold us accountable, it's because we must show you what we are doing. So it's only correct that there's some media where government has interest, but there are also media that is private. Now, let's come to the private media, because I think that is always the bone of contention. Private media issued a license by the IBA. And I'm sure that the IBA rules and regulations stipulate the requirements of that license. And it is normal that in proliferation of media houses, there are different editorial policies. There are some that will say, our job is to make sure we hold government accountable. There are some that will say, our job is to support government. Others will say, our job is to disagree with government. Those are editorial policies, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What is wrong is in the manner that is done. That media operates in a very specific cultural context, in a very specific political social context, in a very specific religious context. In Zambia, we're a multi-party democracy, we are a Christian nation, and we are a very specific culture. So the media is not in a vacuum. They're operating in this context. If a media house in America can advocate for gay rights, here you can't. It's a very specific context. So you can't say, no, the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, you're not allowing us to operate as we should. We are media houses. No. The law is there. The cultural context is there. The religious context is there. So I, as a minister, the president as the president of Zambia, and you as a media owner, you're operating in this very specific cultural context. If a media house is every day going to insult the president, there is something wrong, because we're in a very specific cultural context where you respect those older than you, where you must be prepared to be cancelled. Sometimes we all need counsel to say, you know what, at that point, I think you were in an extreme. And remember that the IBA's #1 interest is the people of Zambia, that they must get media services in a manner that is not demeaning, that is not defaming, that is not libel, because with such a proliferation of media, even those without an informed opinion believe that they can come to Camnet or go into ZNBC and say, I have an opinion over something. And sometimes it's not over something, it's over somebody. And that's the danger. Now, we believe that we're at a point where we need to strengthen libel and defamation laws, because I think the IBA has been concerned that so many citizens believe that sometimes instead of discussing an issue, they prefer that the media is about discussing individuals and defaming them. And I think many citizens have failed to get recourse because they believe that the court processes take long, or they will not even get the defamation costs they want, because to defend somebody and bring somebody's name into disrepute it should be done either with facts and not just as an easy thing to do. So we in government are very concerned that while the media is there to serve the public. The public must be protected from bad media, and good media must be encouraged. So this is a learning process for all of us.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for that elaborate narration of the position of the government and the media. There is an issue right now which is at hand, and that is, I didn't follow it clearly, but I got it, that in Muchinga province, I think the UPND leader went to address, whether Muchinga or somewhere, went to address on radio, and the cadres went to misbehave there. I know you got all the facts. Let me not mislead the nation. The question is, Honorable Minister, do cadres go to media houses because it's a bad media house, or it's because of somebody who is in the house?
Let me say this, first of all, that I think that the President has expressed great concern at what seems to be becoming the new normal, our tolerance to violence as Zambians. Because if you recall, just a few months ago, people went in a hospital in Mazabuka, took somebody out and burnt them in front of a hospital during the gassing period, if you recall. And we should all be shocked. We should all be shocked. I personally went to attend a funeral of a young lady who died in a very sad circumstances, the lady from the University of Zambia, the late Jesper. And I felt as an individual and as a citizen, and most of all as a government spokesperson, that I should go and attend that funeral. And there were various political leaders there, and the amount of insults I got, I'm happy that NGOCC came out and condemned that. Again, I think that this is what has been concerning the president.
Who was insulting you? The people were insulting you?
I think that the point I'm trying to make here is that two wrongs don't make a right.
Absolutely.
And we should also inspect. We must have deep reflection about what we are teaching young people in this country, especially the so-called cadres across the board. What are we teaching our young people? In terms of government, our position is very clear. Media houses must be protected unless they break the law. If they break the law, the IBA is there to address those issues. But if they have not broken the law, as the government stated in its position over those incidences, the issue is very clear. I'm also very happy, the position is very clear. I'm also very pleased that the Secretary General of the party did state that he's waiting to get all the facts on what transpired. But I think for me, in terms of speaking to Zambian people, we need to look deep inside ourselves, because today it's in Muchinga, tomorrow it can be in another province. Today it's this one, tomorrow it will be that one. I think that we all as citizens must ask ourselves that let's not pick and choose in terms of condemning violence. If today it's in Chinga, then we condemn it. Tomorrow it's in Choma, we don't condemn it. I think that all of us, each citizen, and especially the political leadership, we need to look deep down inside ourselves and say, what roles are we playing for us to end up where we are? What role are we playing as politicians, as NGOs, as opinion makers in society to incite this kind of behavior? Because Muchinga will not be the last. It's not the first, and it will not be the last.
Absolutely.
And so we must all look deep inside that what kind of a nation are we? We have an opportunity with post-COVID, with COVID now, when we are all coming together and fighting one enemy. That post-COVID, what kind of country will come out of this fight against the COVID? Are we going to be a people that are united? Are we going to be a people that really mean love for each other? If I have a difference of opinion about the economy, do I have to demean the president? Do I have to demean the ministers? If the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, you are not happy with her statement, what has that got to do with the person, as in Dora Silia? You know, because at the end of the day, we all go back to our homes. I have my life and the family. You have your life and your family.
Absolutely.
Where you sleep, I don't know. Where I sleep, you don't know. So at the end of the day, we all have different paths in life. We have all ended up where we are because of the paths that we have taken. But we are all Zambians, and we are all interested in the management of Zambia. I am government, myself, and even the president. We are very happy to hear ideas, to hear informed debate, to hear issues. But if people, and especially with social media, when people believe that being an opinion maker is to talk about Dora Silia, then to me that is such an anorexic mind.
That's right.
You know, it's such an anorexic mind, a mind devoid of issues of debate, skills, of facts. Because if you disagree with the way government is doing any particular thing, put out your argument there, and those who read even on social media will say you are right. But being right can't just be saying that Pastor Chulua, we know that because of this, because no. Have an argument based on issues. People will debate and disagree all over the world. But others must come up with ideas and say, this is how something should be done. I'll give a very good example. If you read papers in Zambia for the last 20 years, you just hear about corruption. It's corruption. Take newspapers for the last 20 years. It's just corruption. This is a country that is on a third political party, on a sixth president. We should be very proud of ourselves. That's a record in Africa. And even when corruption happens, we should be very happy that we have institutions of governance, including the Anti-Corruption Commission, whose job it is to deal with those issues. And if you see corruption happening, you have a right to go to that institution and report it. it is unbecoming to just make it a song. When you want to be heard in the media, you just say, that one is corrupt. No, that one is corrupt. No, that one is corrupt. In the end, you demean the whole important fight against corruption because it becomes a song to be sung by those who have an anorexic mind, who have no better argument to offer, and all they do is sing corruption, corruption. And I want to emphasize that even when we want to be opinion makers, let us at least make a comment on facts, not on fake facts, because you must be heard in the paper or you must be online. So the fight against corruption in this country is real. Let us allow the anti-corruption to do their work. Like in broadcasting, let us allow IBA to do their work. We all can't be experts. We all can't be experts. Just because you post online and say, oh, people have heard me, I've spoken. Well, maybe it makes you feel good for that day. But we in government don't have that luxury to have tantrums. We must make decisions that impact the citizens. And not that we can't be wrong. Sometimes we will be wrong. But even when we are wrong, we must have a dialogue and a discussion. Because ultimately, it's the people of Zambia who have the right to put a government in office. That's why this country is on a 3rd political party and on a 6th president. And I have hope in my country.
I'll come to the issue of corruption, Honorable Minister. You talked about the IBA doing its work. I don't know whether this is the right platform for me to ask. Recently, you admonished Prime TV and you took them off the air, and there is this widespread rumor that you are not doing the right thing. It's because you are threatened. Whether I'm in order to ask that, or you can feel free to ask it on another platform.
No,
I'm
Pastor.
Not sure.
These are the questions the citizens are asking, and that's why we give out licenses, so that we can engage with the citizens. And laws are made by parliamentarians, and I'm sure that the parliamentarians read the laws that they make. And the IBA laws, Act is very clear that there are standards, basics, requirements for a license when it's issued, so that when it begins operating, it does not infringe of the rights of other citizens. And I want to believe that the IBA has been in a long engagement with Prime TV. Because if you recall, at about this time last year, Prime TV was suspended. So the IBA, I want to believe, has been in a long engagement with Prime TV. Now, I know that it sounds very juicy to say, oh, it's Dora Celia has done this, Dora Celia has done this. It sounds so juicy for some people, it makes their day. For me, as Minister of Information and Broadcasting, I have not attended to the appeal of Prime TV based on what IBA said to them, on the basis that when I called for the file, I ended up finding that their license had expired and it had not been renewed. And the IB law is very clear. Now, if you don't like the law, that is up to you. You can continue with tantrums. The issue is that the law is very clear that a license will be renewed 6 months before it expires. So at the point that the appeal came to my table, I had to call for the file. And then when I found that the license had expired, what would I be acting on? On what basis would I be hearing an appeal? Now, just because you don't like the law, or it happens to be Dora Celia in the office and you don't like it, I can't help you in that case. The point is that the law stated that the license was null and void. It had expired. So at the point that letter was written to me, the letter was worth nothing, because it was based on no license. So that is the short of the story of Prime TV. It is not about
it's not the content.
PF, it's not about Dora Celia, it's not about President Edgar Lungu. It is just that at the point of government receiving an appeal, we found that actually the appeal was baseless because there was no license to base it on.
I'm so grateful that you have helped to shed light on that, because Gerard Shawa is a friend. I have no idea, and I'm sure many Cabinet TV viewers out there social media is also influencing things. If you don't come out and educate us as government, would just take anything on the plate thinking it's food, even if it's poisonous. Now, I say this because you as government, you are putting things where they're supposed to be. But the masses out there, they may not understand.
It is true, and I think that in this country we have to do a lot of online education because sometimes even the ones we think are intelligent, the way they engage on social media is quite sad. Because for me, if those who are supposed to know and who are supposed to be able to read and who are supposed to be able to understand issues such as the IBA law cannot then make a good conclusion purely because their eyes, their lens through which they are seeing things is either politically influenced or is just, I don't like that person. I am not there for people to like me. I'm only there to do a job. And I think it's the same for all my colleagues in government who are ministers, and including Her Honor, the Vice President and His Excellency, President Lungu. We've been elected and appointed in office to do a very specific job. When this is all said and done, I have a family, I have my friends, I have a life, and life will continue.
Absolutely.
But we are just there to do a very specific job. And when we err, we are just human beings. But we also have to do the job in the best interest of the people. I specifically, as Minister of Information and Broadcasting, I have gone the extra mile that we must not think of the ministry as for ZNBC, Times of Zambia and Daily Mail. That this ministry is a ministry for all media in Zambia because we are responsible for media development in this country. Media development meaning that, one, we must give somebody an opportunity for business to manage a media house as a business. Two, we must give an opportunity that if there are more media houses, then there will be more journalists who get jobs.
Absolutely.
But apart from journalists in newsroom, the media also involves film production. It involves producers. It involves camera directors. It involves employing human resource people. It involves employing cleaners. So you are helping to create jobs. Apart from it being a business for a family or a certain group of people, it also provides an opportunity for an income for journalists, for film directors, cameras, producers, and so on and so forth. So as a minister, as the president, as the head of this country and responsible ultimately for Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, we want to see these jobs created. But like any other business, the laws of the land must be followed. The laws of the land are not made by Dora Celia or just President Edgar Lungu. They are made by collective, first demand-driven. Then the people of Zambia said they wanted the IBA. They said they wanted to open up the media space. And in opening up the media space, they said they wanted an independent body to manage the media space. Now, when the IBA makes an independent decision, we want to say, no, the decision is wrong. But that's the law you gave them. I mean, we have to begin not to have a character as a nation where we always want to erode confidence from institutions of governance. I'm not an investigator on corruption. I don't know what it takes to investigate these things. So let us allow those who have these skills to do the job. When they do it, you can't say, no. They don't know what they are doing because you are hiding behind a phone and just posting. Of course, the challenges of social media, Pastor, are not unique to Zambia. But I think that we can decide that we'll be a unique country and use social media in a better manner.
Absolutely.
Because what concerns me, Pastor, is not just all these politicking on social media. There are also other dangers in social media that are eroding the very family fabric in Zambia. There are young girls there, not girls you think are coming from funny families, from decent families because we think their parents are decent, they are church-going people, but the children are there from Evelyn On College or NIPA posting naked pictures on the internet. There are people out there who are trying to crook citizens and steal money from them. I don't know how many calls I get that, Minister, I was talking to you on Facebook, you asked me to deposit 15,000 kwacha.
Oh.
And they even send me a deposit slip from the bank. But you can imagine that a family has gone out of their way to find 15,000 kwacha to deposit in some code account because they think it's coming to me that I have promised them a job. And for a family in these times to find that 15,000 kwacha, it means they have sacrificed. And yet we continue to have people out there who are crooked-minded and they want to steal from Zambians. We have people out there who want to traffic people, and they're using the internet. So while we think that the politics are important, and yes, they are, but there are also a lot of issues there on the internet that are affecting Zambians that we as government are very concerned about. That people feel now that they can talk about their life every day on the internet, whether it's true or not. They can malign other people on the internet, whether it's true or not. I mean, we should all be concerned. Because on Sunday, we all end up in church and pretend to be very God-loving people. You know, so we should be concerned as a country that what has happened at family level? What has happened? This anger that people feel all the time. And it can't just be, no, it's the president. This is the number 6 president, and yet the people are always angry. Angry with what? We all can't be presidents, there's one position. We all can't be ministers, they're only about 30. And also it's a choice. We all make life choices. I wanted to be a doctor, I changed my mind. You want to be a teacher, you want to be... We make those choices. But as a country, we all have to live with each other and help this country to be an environment where we see hope for our children. But you can't see hope for your child if the child, you didn't take the child to school and say, Boma Isaiah Nganapa. How? How is the Boma going to Yanganapo if your child is a grade 7 failure? If the child, you were not bothered to take that child to school? Because without education, Pastor, I can't see a family surviving. Even in Europe, where they've had long traditions of social support, you'll still be in poverty if the children are not educated. And that should be our message. I see young people these days, when they ask for help, they're not asking that pay for me for school. They're saying, please, can I have money to buy whiskey? I want a bottle of Glenfiddich. It's Friday today. What happened to saying, please, I'm struggling, help pay for my school fees, at least so that I can look after myself? The young men today are not even ashamed to ask a woman for money for alcohol. So to me, these are family issues, and they're not just about government. They're not about Boma Yanganepo. They're about first family leadership. At the family level, what is the leadership? And I think whether it is the church, it's NGOs, we all can't just talk about Edgar Lungu for 365 days. Families are struggling, and they're not struggling just financially. There's a total social breakdown at family level that has nothing to do with even finances sometimes, but has everything to do with lack of family leadership at family level.
Well, Honorable, what you've said, I must say that my wife and I wear 2 coats. We are preachers and we are on TV educating the people. But one problem I've discovered in Zambia, we have failed to distinguish a person from the office.
Exactly, exactly.
And, you know, whether I disagree with President Chagwa Lungu, I disagree with him in some of the decisions he makes. But I'm not mandated to go public and stand on the mountain and say I disagree with the president.
But even if you...
There is a manner in which I can seek appointment through you, through somebody else, and say, I want to air this.
But Pastor Chiluba, even if you do disagree with him publicly, there's a manner it's done. I always give this example. If you watch CNN now, you can see their total disagreement with President Trump. But they call him President Trump. And they don't refer to him as stupid or this or that. They don't. They refer to him as, we disagree with President Trump because of this, because he said that or he didn't say that or this and this. And that's the nature of politics. We all understand. So we can disagree. But we cannot perpetually demean each other, and when you do it, you even feel good and say, yes, me, I have told them, me, I have told them. I think let's first worry about our families first. Families first. Because if we are all coming from families where there's leadership, then the national character will be okay. So if we start seeing all this violence from what we say cadres, we start seeing such political intolerance, maybe even sometimes even intolerance and disagreements in the church, we have to ask ourselves, what's happening at family level? For me, I always say when I hear young men always asking for money for alcohol, I ask myself, how come they're not asking money for education? Because education is the equalizer. It's what gets you where you have only dreamt of.
Absolutely.
You know, so I don't understand why this ambition. My father always told me a story of how his mother sacrificed everything because she always knew that the investment in her son in education was what would get them to the village for me to live in Kablonga. You know, from my grandmother in the village to educate my father for me to live in Kablonga.
Absolutely.
So we have to invest in the future generation by doing something today. That I'm responsible for my family, I'm responsible for my son, if my grandchildren are going to have a better life. I can't say no, but the government, what have you done? If the government hasn't built a school, yes, that's the noise you must be making. That there is no school in my area because I want my child to be educated. We must be making noise that where is the hospital? We want a hospital because we want our children to be educated but also to grow up healthy. That is the right noise. We can't always be making a few people just making noise about, oh, only if it was us in government. The time comes for everybody.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Honorable, in that you are right. If Zambians realize that even in marriages you differ, but you don't go outside to your neighbors and start saying, my husband this, my wife this, my what. So the presidency is my concern in Zambia. What Mama Inonge does there and what it's the office. And once that education is put across, if you don't like President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, respect the office. Because President Lungu will not be there forever.
Forever, exactly.
Somebody is coming out there. So if you don't respect the office, I have problems with that. I like what the Americans say. The Americans say that he that is willing to sit on the throne must first of all be willing to clean it.
Exactly.
You can't just go and sit on a dead seat.
I mean, Pastor Chula, you make the point very well. How can we be a country where every former president will say, no, they're a thief? They're a thief. I mean, we must ask ourselves, are we just thieves as a country? Is that what we are? Every president, the only legacy is they're a thief. They're a thief. No. I think that we cannot have a country where all the time the legacy is that one is a thief, that one. And this happens not even at presidential level. We are even doing it in every organization now. We are having these problems in every organization. When somebody leaves, they are a thief. They are a thief. We cannot live like that. It shows that there is something very, very wrong, and we have failed. We have these institutions of democracy, but we don't want to have confidence. We want it to be about me, I have said. And like you said, if you don't respect other people, how will they respect you? Because if you respect the office of the presidency, when that person leaves, even when you go there, you'll also carry the respect of that office. If you don't respect the Minister of Information and Broadcasting because of the office, you, when you get there, how will you be respected? But it still goes back to the basics. Those who fail to respect other people in office is a reflection of their anorexic upbringing at family level. Because if you are taught to respect other people, at family level, it doesn't matter how difficult the situation is where you are, you will know how to respect other people. Even when you disagree with them, you'll be able to say, you know what, these are offices where, of course there'll be disagreements, but you will be able to contain it and say, these are offices, we must be able to move forward. And that's why I was in MMD and today I'm in PF. Because I know that ultimately we want the same thing. And that people can disagree, but even with disagreement, there is room to bring a compromise and to achieve common goals. But those who say this is the line, it's you there, me there, then what is going to happen to the country?
Well, what you have just said, Honorable, this is CamNet TV. It's biblical based. What you have just said, as parents, we miss what the Bible says. The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. When he grows up, he will not depart from there.
Of course. If you see a man who disrespects a woman, it's because he was never taught any better. So do you expect when they are grown up to know how to respect a woman? No, because when they were growing up, they were not taught any better. And maybe this is a challenge to us mothers and fathers too, that because if you teach a child in the home to respect a woman, I don't see how that son will get out of that house and be disrespectful to women.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Because I said this a few months ago, the president, Mama Esther Lungu, she was appealing to the nation. I forget what it was. And she knelt down and something like asking for mercy. And some university boys were dancing and demeaning what she had said. When my wife and I were on this platform, we condemned it.
Exactly.
In the manner it deserves. Because my mother taught me that a woman, even if she's young, she's your mother.
Exactly.
So I've grown up with that. Each time I feel like, demeaning a woman. The words of my mother come back that any woman. And also she taught us that you must have respect for elderly people. Because any person above you is your mother, your father.
Exactly.
So insults are not in me. And my children, by the grace of God, we've brought them up with that. So what you are saying is very right. I've got problems not because I'm a pastor. The manner in which we go about handling the presidency, handling this. Let me mention to CamNet TV viewers here, as they can see, I don't have a script. This is not a scripture union where I say, Madam Doris Leah, talk about this. Let some mind there thinks, oh, Pastor rehearsed with Honorable.
No,
they don't know who I am. But as parents, we are mandated. And it's going to take God to change what you are saying, that the future of Zambia is in the hands of the young people. So I just can appeal, Honorable, that please mount education. As government, I know where you lack. You lack disseminating information to teach the people, to say why we have taken this step. It's because of this. Education lacks. That I can tell you, because most of the people, they do things they hear just from the media, even on social media. It makes news.
You're very right, Pastor. I think that we have such a pyramid that everybody thinks it's just the top, and we have to do more, even as government, to ensure that leadership programs should start very early in schools, so that if somebody is a leader at a market, they behave like a leader. If somebody is a head in a school, they will behave like a head in a school as a leader. If somebody is a leader in an NGO, they will behave like a leader in an NGO, because we need to have leadership at such many levels, including the family, so that people are not looking for leadership only at the office of the president. And if everything else is wrong here, they don't mind. They're only looking at the office of the president. And I think that is definitely a problem, and I totally agree with you. I think even our education syllabus has to respond to the challenges of Zambia today, the Zambia we want to see in 20 years from today. And that, who are these young people who are being born today, that in 20 years from today, what kind of Zambians will they be? Will they be the Zambians who say, Zambians don't like each other? Oh, Zambians can't work together. Zambians are not business people. We just politic. So what kind of Zambia do we want to have 20 years from today? And that work must be done today. That's why I'm very happy and wish to congratulate you as CamNet, that you have said, it's not just about the church and preaching We can do television evangelizing. We can also do education. I've seen your GC classroom, because now that becomes practical. That how else can the church support the community beyond just the word? You want to be practical. And I think many of us have to do that. I'm very concerned about the private business sector space in Zambia. It's a space Zambians have not really gone in to become big business people. It's a place where we are always saying, oh, the foreigners, the foreigners. Again, it's an issue of what I call mental infrastructure re-engineering, because I've said many times, who denies Zambians business? It's Zambians. It is Zambians who deny Zambians business. It is Zambians who have the mentality that only give a foreigner business. If that same Zambian gives you, Pastor Chilwa, a $10 million business, it will be a corruption story in the newspaper tomorrow. So we have so much work to do, and you're right, it all boils down at education, at family aspirations, at national aspirations, and that what kind of country do we want to be post-COVID, but also 20, 30 years from today.
Honorable Minister, Camnet TV has begun the news. Tonight will be our third day to carry the news, and our prayer to God is to change something in the way sometimes reports are made. One, because Camnet TV, as we speak, is linked up with some TV station in the West Indies, and they are watching everywhere there. And my concern, again, is that by the grace of God, as we carry out this news, there are certain things that we need to bring out. And when I say we need to bring out, it is the issues like of tribalism. That thing has been on my mind. That I'll give you an example. Now it's evident that Echilufya cannot be an MP in Choma or in Monze. Havasonde cannot be an MP in Chinsali, or better still, Sitali be a member of parliament for Chipata Central. Where are we heading to? Because this is a time bomb. The tribalism in Zambia. What is the government doing about it?
I think that a few people or a few politicians are the ones pushing this agenda of tribalism. And I think that it is quite dangerous, because for me, even at my age, just short of 50 in October, it's just shocking, because I don't wake up and feel that I'm against that one. I have a nephew who is half Lozi. I have a niece who's half Tonga. I have many relatives from all over the country. And sometimes it's just mind-boggling that what we don't want to put as the best step forward is somebody's capability, but it's going to be somebody's tribe. And I think it's the history. It's the history that we've had a history of people pronounce that this party can only be led by somebody from this tribe. And until we understand that that was wrong and it should not be perpetuated, and other people have reacted to those same sentiments, and 20, 25 years later, here we are. It is still the same agenda. And unless we are honest with ourselves that, look, this Zambia is a country for all of us Zambians, and that we've already done well. And I keep saying, the fact that we're on a president number 6, it means we've already done well. It means that Zambians know how to elect presidents and how to change presidents. So the basis for going to State House must never be because of my tribe. It must be because of capability, but ultimately because through God's wisdom, the people of Zambia have chosen you. That is the only reason. That's the only way you can get to State House. It's because through God's wisdom, the people of Zambia say, now we have chosen you. That is the only way. And I think that Zambia is so unique, and again, it's God's wisdom, that its geographical setting is such that you need everybody's help to be able to get there. Your peers must decide that it is you. When your peers decide it is you, you get there. If they don't, I think that history has also demonstrated that you never get there. And I think that you made a very important statement. If you are able to push others up, they will also push you up.
That's
if
right.
you just say it can only be me because all of you don't think, I'm the only one who thinks, and you wait until you see me, until what? I think history has also shown us. Even currently, we have in other jurisdictions presidents who said, when it is me, all of you will see. And God had his plans. I have on the wall in my office that when men plan, God laughs. When men plan, God laughs. You see? There are many jurisdictions where leaders said, when it's only me, you see, everything will be all nice and rosy. But God had other plans, and we are all now in the chaos of COVID.
In fact,
so everybody's humbled.
the Bible, Honorable, says plans are for man.
Yeah, that's the
but
point.
God takes the steps.
That is the point.
The final say is with God.
Yeah, so to me, leadership is about, first of all, I think it's about teamwork. It is about teamwork. Running a country is not about me, I'm the most intelligent, me, I'm the best person. No, it's about teamwork and how to go across the bridge and reduce the gap so that everybody can feel this sense of belonging to the nation called Zambia. I think it's bad politics to encourage tribalism. And it doesn't matter where it's coming from. For me, first of all, for me as Dora Celia, but I think even on behalf of government, I think it's bad politics to encourage tribalism by anyone. Anyone. And I think the failure is for us to call it out. Again, I said that we have many opinion makers in this country, even NGO leaders, who are only happy to make noise if it's on this side. If it's on this side, they'll keep quiet. Then others are only happy to make noise if it's on this side. If it's on this side, they'll keep quiet. We need to have a critical mass of Zambians who, when violence is whether by the UPND, PF, FDD, or whoever, they say it's wrong. If tribalism is by PF, UPND, FDD, they say it's wrong. Not if it's PF, they say, oh, it's very wrong. If it's UPND, they hide. If it's UPND, oh, it's very wrong. If it's a PF, they hide.
But there is a
Those
saying in your language, Honorable Minister. Achiwa minagalo kuluma mbuzi, osati mbuzi kuluma.
And that's why even in that language in Chewa, it's trying to make the point, do unto others as you wish them to do unto you. And that is actually what that saying is trying to demonstrate, that no, do unto
even
others.
Even a God feels pain.
Yes, do unto others as you wish them to do unto you. What is wrong today should be wrong tomorrow and the other day. It should not be about, no, but you see me, these are my... Tribalism is wrong everywhere. Racism is wrong everywhere. Xenophobia is wrong everywhere. Hatred for other people is just wrong everywhere. Failure to work with other people to provide team leadership is just wrong everywhere. And if we've been making those mistakes as Zambians, we have a chance. I think the greatest invention, somebody said, is the chance to be able to change our attitude. That is the greatest invention. You can have all these aircraft going to the moon, but the capacity God gave us to be able to change is the greatest invention, because God created it. So you can change and be better and do better. And
Absolutely.
as a country, we can change. We can change. We can tell ourselves, you know what? We are just one country. Let's change the politics. Seeing Mr. Hakainde going to see President Lungu and saying, you know what, you're the president now. There's a COVID. Let's talk about it. It's good for the nation. Let us create teamwork. How can we help? What messages do you want us? That should be normal. And yet it's not happening. And we should be saying, is it not possible for us to change attitude and not say, no. Me, other people, I'm the only one who's on top. Until I become president, you all can't know anything. I'm the only one. No. Then how will the people work with you?
In fact, you've picked the words from my mouth, Honorable. Based on tribalism and all these things which are dividing Zambia, I wanted to ask you, as government and the spokesperson for the government, what is being done on us sitting down, having a cup of tea? Because definitely there are people in the opposition party who are your good friends.
Exactly.
And you chat. And
yet,
you cannot...
And yet, if one of them came to my office, they'll probably be victimized. I think that it's across the board where people feel that if I'm going to speak to Mr. Hakainde or I'm going to speak to Gary Nkombo, then what am I doing? And if Gary Nkombo comes to my office, then, oh my God, what is going on? We've created this narrative, and it must end. We have created this narrative, it must end. For example, personally, I've known Gary Nkombo for almost all my adult life from university. So I know him more than I've known even some colleagues today. It should be normal. Friends, yeah. It should be normal. I know his children, I know his wife. It should be normal for me to say, oh, Gary, come to my house. And yet, in today's Zambia, it is not normal. Because even him, if he comes to my house, his own political party will say, what were you doing at that house? You see, now, we have to live outside this narrative we've created for ourselves. And no, if she's speaking with Pastor Chiluba today, then which side is she on? Because she should be speaking with Pastor so and so. We have to be able to live. Politics will be there. And leave to us, the politicians who've decided to jump in. Because for me, when I say I'm PF, that is what I am. I am PF. But I don't expect that a teacher who's got the Hamsonde should victimize a teacher who's got the Chilufya because they are playing their politics at that level. Or a teacher called Mulenga should start victimizing another teacher called Kakelwa because they are playing politics at that level. Leave the politics to us. We take the risk, we suffer the consequences, and we also go to bed saying, God, thank you. I'm trying to do my best for the people whom I'm serving in my constituency in Zambia. But we've declared, me, I am PF. The rest of you, yes, you are politically persuaded. But in your political persuasion, show it on the day of the election. Let it not be your everyday mantra to harass other people because they are not politically persuaded as you. No. That's just evil. You know, so as a country, we have a lot to learn. We have to really learn that politics is about delivering a service. In this country, we've made politics about it's the job. And as a result, we have totally taken away from a very important aspect of our society. Politics is about serving the people. But for me, I continue having hope in Zambia. The fact that we're on the 6th president in this country is a good thing. That we have a first female vice president, it's a good thing. And lots of young girls there, lots of young men there who forever be inspired by stories of all the presidents, whether it's President Kaunda, it's President Chiluba, it's President Mwanawasa, President Banda, President Sata, President Lungu now, because they've had all their unique journey to that office. And the country will continue to be blessed because we are a landlocked country. We have seen how fragile that can be when you have a challenge like Corona, because you can actually be locked out. But here we are. We've still been blessed by not having so many deaths. We might have cases every day, but at the same time, I think that we should consider ourselves as a lucky country because it could be worse. It could be worse.
Welcome, the TV viewers. You are watching National Matters. I want to go back to Honorable Minister and ask on the issue of corruption. Honorable Minister, from the time Chifungula was Auditor General, there are a lot of cases that she put things on the table, that this money went missing, this went missing. Why is it that there are no prisoners involved in the losing of national coffers?
I think that, again, it's an issue of understanding how government works. I think that various personalities give a character to an office. And I think my dear lady was one of those. She was very public and so on and so forth. And sometimes, and I have experienced this, we've seen ourselves, Every day in our offices, especially in particular ministries, there are always SCC people, Anti-Corruption Commission people, coming to the offices. What happened here? What happened there? What happened there? Because sometimes, especially from that time of Ms. Chifungula, audit reports would actually be late, sometimes like 2-3 years late. Now, by the time an issue is coming out that, oh, a PS decided that this money was supposed to be spent for this, but because there was something else in the ministry, it was spent for this, and so on. By the time that story is explained, the Anti-Corruption Commission go there, they establish that actually the money was still spent on public good, and this is what happened, and nobody took the money. By the time that story comes out that this happened, it's 2 years later because the Auditor General's report is out late. Now, because it's out late, in there it's still reflecting that there was an issue there. But the issue has been sorted out because somebody from the Auditor General's office, even the SCC office, went there and asked the questions. What happened here? What happened there? Oh, okay, okay. So, to me, I think this is what now the Secretary to Cabinet has said, listen, PSS, let us now be very close to Auditor Generals so that we always inform them that what has happened here is because of this, because of that. Even Auditor Generals are just people. You know, if they are working in an atmosphere where there's almost an expectation that find somebody guilty, find somebody guilty, find somebody guilty, even things that can be explained, they just write, oh no, you know what happened? This money is missing here, this... And government realized there were a lot of stories, but once they were investigated, there was actually reasonable explanation. We are all not in government that every day we just want to steal from the people of Zambia. No, that is not true. But even as we do our job, there are situations where those who've been given the power, controlling officers, PSS, have to make decisions because they are the ones on that spot. They have to decide, like now there's COVID, money has to be diverted, and all these things are being done and so on. And when the Auditor Generals come, they will be explained that this is because of this is because of this is because of that. I am not saying that there were no instances where money could actually be misappropriated, stolen. And I think that for those, the police have come in. People are always arrested in government. We had the big cases last year in Ministry of Education. So I think that I have confidence that whenever systems are flouted and money ends up actually being stolen, I think that our systems are one of the best. To be honest, I've been in government a long time. It's extremely difficult to be able to misappropriate resources, and this is why the permanent secretaries now are really working under the wing of the Secretary to Cabinet, that if there's an explanation, let's give it very quickly to the auditors so that they understand, because sometimes when there's a time lag, even the Auditor General, the auditor who's sent there after 2 years of an incident will not appreciate the explanation because it has taken too long. But now we are saying, and that's why you've seen even with COVID, the donations, that as they are coming in, the auditors are already on top of things to make sure that they monitor, because we don't want to wait that COVID after a year, then now you say go and send the auditors. Things will not be explained, will not be appreciated to say, oh no, we had overnight a crisis in Nakonde and this had to be done. People would just say, no, 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 no. Was money stolen? But now we are saying, no, 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 no. As things are happening, the auditors also follow every day so that we are all on the same page. So I think government has responded to the people's anxieties that this is what must happen. But I still must emphasize, in this country, corruption is a song for those politicians who have an agroxic influence and they are trying to be relevant. It's a song. There is a real fight against corruption. Yes. And it is being done by the Anti-Corruption Commission and many institutions, including the people of Zambia themselves. But we must differentiate from this so-called fight against corruption, which is just a political gimmick. We must differentiate these two, because there's a real fight against corruption, which is just a political gimmick when nobody has anything important to say. They just stand on a mountain and say corruption, because then they want to be in the newspapers. No, they just don't do it to PF. They'll do it to, they've done it to everybody. You know, over the years, groups of people come up and do it to whoever is in government, then another group, and this should not be our tradition, because we can't be a country where every president is alleged to be a thief. We should be embarrassed, all of us as Zambians, not just Dora Zelia. All of us should be embarrassed. Now, what kind of country are we where every president we accuse of being a thief? We should be embarrassed, all of us.
You know, Honorable, it takes me back to what I said, that as government, sorry to say this, you don't explain things. When we talk about corruption, I would give you a practical example. There is an issue that came about 48 houses. We read about it in the media everywhere, 48 houses owned by one person. Up to now, I don't know who is the owner. I don't know whether that's fake or I don't know, but people confirm, no, it's true. And the government, you can't come and say, oh, by the way, the owner of these 48 houses is this one. We have found him and we are prosecuting him. It's such things.
I think that maybe it's just that these days there are too many media outlets, because this matter was discussed in various media and even on the floor of Parliament. The matter was explained very, very clearly. And what people missed, and I've said this so many times, that the amount of confidence we should have in the SCC should be unquestionable. Because it's the SCC that came to the people of Zambia and said, we have information of these 48 houses. It's not the people that went to the SCC.
That's right.
One whistleblower went to the SCC, and the SCC are the people who brought this matter to the public, to the nation. They started advertising, I think in 2018 or so, in October, they started working on that case. By October 2019, they issued a statement in the newspaper, if I'm not mistaken, the dates, that look, we've been investigating this matter, but we are getting to a dead end. Those are the realities of life. It's like the Panama Files. You know, it took somebody, a whistleblower, to release that even some Zambians ended up on those Panama files. So people do things like this in business, in life, that they try to hide identity of properties. So these properties were in the name of an official, a junior official, mid-management official in the Ministry of Finance. Now, clearly, the rent of those 48 houses was being paid to a lawyer. And the lawyer, of course, was not willing to say who owned them. And obviously, while the SEC were investigating, they found that these houses were being managed by this Zambian Ministry of Finance. And further interrogation has shown that actually they are owned by somebody who lives in Tanzania. Now, the questions there is just about why is this one masquerading as the owner here in Zambia or not. And I think that the ministry, the SEC, has gone on to discuss those issues. Our interest as government is two things. Were these houses built from money stolen from the people of Zambia through government? If not, we are very happy. And I think that that was the issue. But number two, if this money came out of from outside the country, is it money that came in clean? Is it money from transactions that are illegal, like drugs or terrorism? And so that's our interest as government. In this country, you should be able to own property. We should not vilify or believe that if Pastor Chuluba and his family can build this church, then why, how, when? We should actually congratulate you and be happy and say, this is the way Zambians should do it, because it will take time and you do it over a long period of time. I think that we should encourage Zambians to own properties and not believe that everybody who owns a property, it must be because they have stolen. Are we saying we are citizens without any entrepreneurial ability? We all just want to be poor people on the street. We have no absolute entrepreneurial ability. The only big houses we want must belong to Asian Zambians, Lebanese Zambians, or foreigners. We are devoid of any intelligence. What kind of people are we? Where there is a crime, let those who are responsible deal with the crime. But don't say because there are these 48 houses, then no, they must belong to the president's daughter. Why? Why should they? You know, that is where we get it wrong. You allow the SEC to do their job. If the SEC tell you we found nothing wrong and nobody in government owns this property, You're so disappointed that you say, no, the SEC hasn't done a good job. What kind of people are we? What kind of people are we? So, look, when there is a crime, let those who deal with crime work on those crimes. But let's also encourage Zambians to be enterprising, to be able to get into business transaction, into business deals, that they should be able to invest in wealth in Zambia. Not where we've almost taught our children that in this country you can't be rich at all. It's only other people who can be rich. That's the narrative we are telling our Zambians. That in this country you can't be rich. These businesses are only for foreigners. Zambians can't do. You Zambians can only do these little poverty businesses.
Selling talk time.
What kind of people are we? What is the basis, the objective of education? Because education is not to say me I can count 1 + 1 or speak English. Education should result in behavior change. It should do. You should exhibit a thinking that people should see that this is why you went to school, because you learned a few manners, because you know how to speak properly, because you know how to compromise, how to be a team leader, because you know how to just get ideas, and because you've been exposed. It's not just enough to say, me, I can count, I'm an economist, but your thinking is straight from my brothers in Lundazi, Kanere 1. No, that's not the point of education. It must result in behavioral change, Yeah.
Honorable, before I let you go, during the time I was growing up under Kaunda leadership, our father, there were some ethics that were followed, and I heard them so clearly. One, if you were a foreigner coming from outside the country, Dr. Kaunda never allowed somebody to come and start cooking in Shima when you are an investor. He would not allow, because he left certain jobs for Zambians. And when I was in America, the times I've been going there, some of the highly paid people are those who collect garbage and the fire system. So those two jobs have been reserved exclusively for Americans. Foreigners can't come and do the jobs for Americans.
Managing taxi business,
absolutely,
the yellow cab.
They can't. And also in Ethiopia, that economy is growing, because there are certain businesses you can't do as a foreigner. It's exclusively for Ethiopians. Why have we allowed in Zambia, like I saw a clip of a Zambian who has got a foreigner in his own country?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because he went in a shop. That piqued me. Why has the government, when I say the government...
No, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm talking about Minister of Commerce and those
who
give passports.
All of us, including myself.
Why have we allowed investors to come and do cheap jobs, which a Zambian can do? Because I even found a Chinese lady. She has a place where she sells in Shima.
Nails, Shima, massage, everything.
Yes.
I think it's, again, for me, a long time standing problem, and I want to call it a Zambian problem. Yes, government also might have some shortfalls and so on, but I call it a Zambian problem because in this country we're supposed to have organized NGOs, we're supposed to have organized business associations, and instead of talking about politics, maybe let's talk about the real issues sometimes. Let us lobby government for the real issues sometimes. One of the things I have said myself, because I realized after a very long time that every big tender in this country, there's always been accusation of corruption. And I asked, why do we feel so uncomfortable? We've got processes, there are laws followed, but even when those who are in procurement follow those laws, we still want to say, no, there's corruption. I mean, to feel is one thing. To actually know there's corruption is another. And if the laws were followed, then maybe it's an issue of what we are defining as corruption, just to say, I know. So to me, I realize that no, actually the problem maybe is because we've not looked at our procurement system and see what really needs to be enhanced. And I'm happy that the Minister of Finance and also now the association itself of procurement officials, people in Zambia, they've begun talking. But it has taken us a long time. It has taken us a long time that those professionals who are procurement experts have not said, look, these are the shortcomings and these are not the shortcomings. And I'm happy that now we are talking about it. We have many businesses that go to foreigners. And yet when Zambians speak, they will always speak just about the person of the president and politics, and not that this is what we Zambians deserve. I'm not excusing government, but I'm just trying to say this is a much complex problem because it's about all of us as Zambians. The people who deny Zambians business are Zambians. The people who give Chinese the tenders and make it difficult for Zambians are Zambians. Even just issues of supply. If you give a Zambian supply $20 million, you'd have changed their life that day. Tomorrow they'll invest in more. We should be ashamed that in this country, no Zambian owns a shopping mall, a proper shopping mall. Yes, maybe you say our Asian friends, but when I say Zambian, you know what I mean, that no indigenous Zambian owns a shopping mall. And yet if you go to Uganda, you go to Kenya, it is normal. I traveled once to Uganda, and one of the big hotels there, Africa Hotel, is owned by Ugandan, I know. And yet the Zambians I was with, their first question was, this one must be a thief. How did he build this hotel? They're not seeing that, oh my God, maybe I can do the same.
Yeah.
Now, in Uganda, it's normal. Big hotels like Pamosi are owned by indigenous Ugandans. In Kenya, it is normal. Big shopping malls are owned by indigenous Zambians. Here, our mentality, our narrative has been it must be owned by South African, a shopping mall. A big construction business must be owned by a Chinese. A big restaurant must be owned by an Asian or Chinese or anybody else, maybe even a white person. And this is what we are teaching our children in our home, that don't want more. Don't want more. And yet our children now are going to school, expose their friends in America, in UK, everywhere, they're on the internet. But we are saying, no, you can just be a cameraman. You can't be more. You can't have your own production house. No. So that even when he goes to the bank, because he is black Zambian, the bank manager, who's a Zambian, will not give him a chance.
Absolutely.
But anybody else who is light-skinned will go in that bank, they'll be given a chance that you can start a production house. Zambians deny Zambians business. And government has a role to play. We must, yes, provide the right environment. But you see, government policies and laws are usually demand-driven. If the Zambians, that's why when we do our politics, let us talk about what the people want. The real issues. But we are just always busy talking about Edgar Lungu, President Edgar Lungu, President Edgar Lungu. We are not demanding that, look, government, what we want is the law that makes sure that this, and will hold you accountable for this law. Government, what we want is, no, we are not. You should have, in a normal situation like they do in America, lobby groups. You have lobbies that champion laws for livestock, lobbies that champion laws for soybeans, lobbies that champion laws for children's rights, lobbies that champion... Now here in Zambia, all NGOs start the same way, women, children, this, but they end up just politicians, politicking. Because we all just are focused on one office in the land, the office of the president, when wealth should be created everywhere else except in government. But we have relegated wealth to just the office of the president. We have forgotten that wealth should be created in private sector, and that there must be champions who demand from government and who work with government to ensure that the right environment is created, so that politicians, especially those in parliament, because the president doesn't work alone. The laws are made in parliament, and that's where NGOs should lobby parliamentarians to have the right laws. Now, nobody lobbies MPs. They just make announcements in the newspapers, but nobody lobbies MPs to say, you know what? We are a women NGO. You know, it's very important that women get into parliament, or young girls have issues of sanitary pads. Please, this is the law we want. No. When we speak, President Lungu.
But, Honorable, still, I'm a little bit behind. At what point did the law change to allow Chinese, other nationals to come as investors and start cooking shima?
Well, we haven't
doing nails.
No, but we haven't defined that this is a space for just Zambians. We haven't defined it. We have said, oh yes, we'll have investment. It's a liberal economy and everybody is an investor. Whether you are a foreign or you're a Zambian, you're an investor. But we haven't defined that, look, for some reason, foreign investors might find it easier to come in because maybe where they're coming from, interest rates are low and they can borrow quickly and come and invest cheaply here. And we haven't defined, we haven't made that definition that this space should just be for Zambians. Even the Citizens Economic Empowerment says Zambian owned, Zambian supported, Zambian. It doesn't stop. Like in other countries, they're very specific, they're very precise. So here there hasn't been that demand that should making of roads be about foreigners. We haven't prescribed those issues. And in the past, they have also been maybe isolated, but there have even been instances where Zambians are given these tenders, then they also auction them off to the same foreigners. So we haven't demanded that this must be precise. Even under Zambia Development Agency, it's thought that investment means foreigners. And one of the greatest weaknesses, and the Minister of Finance has said this, we don't have banks owned by Zambians to truly support Zambian growth. Why they've done well in Nigeria is because they have local banks that support local businesses. Now here, you go into former Barclays, Absa now, South African, they're supporting South African businesses coming here. They will not prioritize your business within Zambia because they want the money to go back to South Africa. And that's why the Minister of Finance is very concerned. Pastor Chilwa, we have an opportunity. What coronavirus has done, this fight, has exposed us, as the Minister of Finance said, but it has also created an opportunity that we can correct things, that now we can take one crop like tomato and say, okay, let's look through the whole value chain of tomato. Now you have farmers of tomato and you have shops, and we expect that these tomatoes will end up in the shops. But something is missing in the middle. What is missing in the middle is warehousing system and processing system, so that from the farmer is not worrying about how it will end up in a supermarket. He's worrying that somebody is going to buy from me, and this person is going to warehouse, and this person is going to process, and then this person now is the one who's distributing. So it has given us an opportunity. For me, it has given us hope that we can reconfigure the economy now. This is the message we want to be hearing from all politicians, that it's time to reconfigure the economy. Not, oh no, the economy is doing so badly. Oh no, this PF government has failed. Oh, no, there's still money to be made in Zambia, and there are opportunities. And the opportunities in agriculture, especially, like I said, just one crop, tomato or soya beans. We should be saying this is the time now that the government should be thinking about legislating against imports of cooking oil so that soybeans can go through the roof, so that we continue to create new jobs for our people.
Absolutely.
Same for tomatoes. This is the time now to be saying education in the country. Why are Zambians sending their children abroad? Why shouldn't Pastor Chilwa have a university that is such a standard university? Nobody should be thinking of sending their children abroad, because just to pay for a room abroad, it's probably more than a house in Kablonga here. And that's what families are paying for their children abroad. If Pastor Chilwa is given that opportunity alone by APSA with good interest rate, why shouldn't he build a university where a child will know that they are sleeping in a good place, they are eating well, and they are getting the best education, because you can bring those same lecturers here. And these are the things we should be demanding. When I open the paper, I want to see Zambians demanding these things from government. That's not what we are demanding. We are demanding all the time just issues. Oh, the president this, oh, the president that. We are not demanding to say life will get better if Zambians get rich. We are not seeing that. And all we are calling ourselves are just thieves. Let me emphasize once again, like in every country, we are not short of challenges. Every country has challenges. Every country has crime. Every country has issues of corruption. But that should not now derail us from trying to be on an agenda where we should make Zambians wealthy, and it should be a normal narrative to get Zambians wealthy. Because if Zambians are wealthy, they'll build more businesses and then we'll have more jobs. But we are not linking these things in this country. Even those we expect to be opinion leaders, they are not saying those things to show that unless we invest in our own economy, unless we keep money here, we should not be going to hide it in Panama or anywhere. We should keep the money here and build businesses here so that people can say, oh no, Mr. So-and-so is the owner of that. Mr. So-and-so, Madam So-and-so is the owner of that. Then there'll be a job. If you don't create a job for a Zambian who's on the street, how is Boma going to Yanganap?
No.
We are going, yes, maybe we'll continue recruiting teachers. Maybe we'll continue recruiting nurses. But if you're really a grade 12 dropout and you have no training, how is government going to employ you? Because it can only employ so many messengers and it can only pay so many people. So we want that maybe there'll be an opportunity for a job of that child because you'd have built this big university where that child can even have a chance maybe to even do a small training. So we have to be each other's keeper and think deeply about these things. Jobs will not just be created from nowhere, and government will never continue employing everyone. It will not happen because it has limited and it can only pay so many people. But each child must have a chance that if I get an education in Zambia, I'll get a job in the private sector and I'll still be able to look after my own family. But the jobs won't be created if we Zambians are not creating them. They're not going to be created. And this is a serious message that people must reflect on. Unless we create these jobs, if you just take tomato, that from now on we said no tomatoes should be imported in this country because we are going to grow them. But growing them is not the end. We are going to process them. We are going to create factories. That's where the jobs will come from. If you take soya, just the Minister of Livestock announced 2 days ago that she's going to allow exports of feed for fish. Now, soya is one of the biggest inputs of feed for all livestock and aquaculture. Imagine how many farmers would be rich from just growing soya. The richest Brazilian is the biggest producer of soya beans in the world. So imagine if farmers were getting rich from soya. But from soya, we are making soya cake for livestock. We are making for feed, for aquaculture. But we are also making cooking oil. But we are making different beauty products. How many jobs would our young people have within Zambia? So we need to make these dots, and we need champions in government and champions outside government. Outside government, there need to be sufficient champions to nudge government to be able to also do some of these things. And that's why we're getting back to the issue of we politic too much. Even when there are no elections, we're in election mode. All the time, we're in election mode.
That's right.
I can only go to Petaoke myself and decide, people, can I stand again or should I not stand? I go there myself. Nobody tells me. So when I come back, why should people just be politicking every day? Just find a constituency and stop politicking so that we can talk about development.
Madam Dora Sidia used the car to go to her constituency. So I should use a tractor. But Honorable Minister, let me appeal to you. My wife and I are on a path. What you have said, we are about to start the agriculture program, and we are seeking with our cooperating partners to bring in some money and help the Zambian develop farms, because we know if Mr. Banda, Mr. Chileshe, they have their own money, and we generate up to $5 billion, that money will stay here, unlike empowering other people. But the government also should come to our aid.
Totally.
I'll give you an example, Honorable Minister. When we started building this church, I went to a bank and I said, please help us. And they said, Pastor Chuba, we don't help churches. Story short, some gracious man in the bank gave us the money. I appeared in court 3 times for failing to pay or service the loan. And I give credit to my children, the owners of Shalom buses. They've grown up here. They had to bail me and this church out. But I appeared in court. And here is an investor who came from somewhere, was given millions in dollars in Mukushi. They didn't even inspect him. I know the story. He ran away with the money. He just externalized this money. But here's a Zambian who is trying to add value to the nation. I said,
Zambians deny Zambians business. And I think that one of our greatest weaknesses is the financial sector space that we need to get Zambians involved in. And of course, for Zambians to begin in there, they need government support, so that we can get into this business and take chances on somebody like yourself. And because we know that the interest rates are very high. And you can imagine now with COVID-19, how many businesses are struggling. That's why this time the president was very insistent that, look, we need to find some support for the Zambian businesses, this 10 billion kwacha. It will not be, the interest is not as high as in the banks, but even then the president is still concerned that it's still quite high, but at least we have something to work with. I think it's supposed to be about 17, 18, 19% compared to the 30, 40% in the banks. But I think that we all have to pull in the same direction. Champions in private sector, champions in government. We all need to demand now that, look, let's give ourselves a better deal. For example, why should we say 20% for Zambians in construction? 100%, why not? Why not 100%?
That's right.
Again, it's ourselves, the interest in the construction sector, the Zambians, who are happy and saying, yes, at least 20%, because they're happy to be paid off. Instead of having the whole $200 million deal, they're happy to be paid off $2 million, $3 million, because we don't seem to be used to a lot of money, and we're happy with the breadcrumbs. But if a Zambian gets a $200 million business deal in this country, we expect that they'll be saying, oh, where did I grow up? Let me go and build a shopping mall there, or whatever business that they're thinking of. And they will employ hundreds of other Zambians. But most of all, the money would stay here. Most of our colleagues who are doing business in Zambia, whether they are of Asian origin or European origin, they externalize the money. And this is what really impacts our exchange rate and makes it more difficult now for you, the Zambian, who is here to do business. And it's an issue that I would like to see have space in the media, in the newspapers, because these are the issues that are not taking space there. The issues that are taking space there is Dora Seria, what is she wearing? We should have real issues in there.
Camnet TV has come on board.
You've done very well.
Camnet TV has come on board, Honorable Minister. And I must let you know that, you know my preaching. I don't go to the left or to the right. I'm just, so even our reporting, we would like to appeal to you that let's make Zambia great. I know there are a lot of people, you say President Lungu has done well here. Oh, Pastor Chubavamugula Manje.
I know.
And when they hear me, unfortunately, I can't insult. When they don't hear me insult any of you, or if I just become harsh, they say, this is a man of God. But those are some of the things that we intend to change through Camnet TV.
And I hear you, Pastor, even you talking to people who might not even agree with government. The point is that in their putting their point across, they are not there to demean other people. They are not there to insult other people or to defame other people. They should account for their own time. Like we in government are saying we have done our best. We are doing our best under very difficult conditions. We want to carry Zambians with us. We want to tell our story. Let them tell their story also, because we have our story to tell. They can't tell it for us. And I think that is the challenge, that people don't have anything to say. They have no agenda for the Zambians, so the agenda just becomes a song about corruption or about demeaning other people. That is not the issue, and I think that the media, you have a responsibility to demand from all of us across the board.
Absolutely.
But what about you? What
whether in leadership or opposition?
Exactly.
Well, Madam Slia, I'm so grateful. Let me make my humble request on behalf of my wife, the church. I must make it very clear. What you have said here is very cardinal. And when we start filling in the forms for the banks, because that has been on my heart, that we come up with a bank that will support even a person in Chinsali. And that has tortured my mind for a long time. When we come to knock at your doors, please help us as government, because I know this dream won't just fall to the ground. We want to support you. Today you are here. Tomorrow you will not be there. And this is what Zambians we don't...
And we all have families.
Yeah, this is what Zambians we don't understand. That if I support Madam Slia today, whether I'm in the opposition, 15, 20 years, she won't be in the same seat.
Of course.
But my children will be there.
Of course.
Let me make the place better. We forget about that. We just want, it's me. I should grow old gracefully with gold black. Nobody should see that. Honorable Minister, I'm so grateful that you came, and I'm so grateful that you have seen our humble beginning, the studio, and Camnet TV is not just another channel. We'll try our best.
Thank you.
Your words to the nation will be important, as you say, bye to our Camnet TV viewers who are watching this National Matters.
I think just to say thank you so much for the privilege of your time. I felt in this conversation as if we're just sitting in a living room on a Sunday or Monday evening and having a discussion about our country. And this is our country. We all care about it. We might not agree all the time, but I care about Zambia. You care about Zambia. And we should be able to discuss these issues freely without emotion, because we all want the same thing. Number one, let us look after our families. Let's educate our children. That's the only answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Welcome, the TV viewers. I've been your host, Pastor Chiluba, on these National Matters. And my guest was Honorable Doris Slia, the Information Minister, and also Chief Government Spokesperson. May the Lord bless our great nation. Remember, Zambia was born for greatness. We should all come together without tribalism. And if I can summarize what the Honorable Minister said, number one, we should uphold law. As long as I preach, I'm within the confines of the law, then Chimbokaila won't be my portion. But should I go outside at Kulivonesha and show the government, I can be a victim of that. And secondly, we should talk about national matters. If we all put Zambia as our interest, this nation will be a great nation. Let's minimize pointing fingers at each other without evidence. You just say, Pastor Chiluba, to have built this 5,000-seater church, he stole the offering. How can I steal the offering and build the church at the same time? May God bless this great nation of Zambia. Honorable, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
May God bless you. Keep watching Camnet TV. And remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. God bless you.